AITA for exposing my girlfriend after she accidentally revealed her cheating in a group text? My name is Owen. I'm 31, and I work as a claims adjuster for a regional insurance company, which sounds boring until you realize half my job is figuring out when people are leaving out the one detail that changes the whole story. I live in a second-floor apartment above a dentist's office in Des Moines, with old hardwood floors, a radiator that clicks like it's trying to communicate in code, and a rescue dog named Maple who treats every hallway sound like breaking news. At the time this happened, I had been dating Mia for almost 4 years. She was part of my everyday life in that quiet, almost invisible way long relationships get after a while. Her shampoo was in my shower. Her favorite chipped blue mug lived in my cabinet. She had opinions about my throw pillows and somehow ended up deciding which side of the couch I sat on, even when she wasn't there. We weren't engaged, but everyone acted like it was only a matter of time, including me. That was my first mistake. Our friend group started as a trivia team at McGreevy's, a neighborhood bar with sticky tables, laminated beer menus, and a bartender named Lou who knew our orders better than some of us knew our parents' birthdays. The team had a group chat called Brain Cell Coalition because we made it after losing a science and nature round so badly that Benji said we had one brain cell and it kept wandering off. Over time, the chat became everything. Trivia reminders, birthday plans, complaints about downtown parking, food truck locations, photos of dogs wearing sweaters, arguments about whether ranch belonged on pizza. There were more people around the edges, but the main orbit was me, Mia, Jordan, Priya, Tessa, Benji, and later Wes. Jordan was my closest friend in the group. He was the kind of guy who would help you move a couch and then complain for 6 months about your stairs. Priya was the group admin because she was organized enough to remember birthdays but anxious enough to send 3 follow-up messages about whether the time still worked for everyone. Tessa was Mia's best friend, sharp and loyal, the type who could turn defending someone into an Olympic event. Benji ran our trivia team, mostly because he owned a clipboard and liked pretending that made him management. Wes joined about a year and a half before everything blew up. He worked with Mia at a small boutique marketing agency and showed up one Tuesday because Mia said he was sad after a breakup and needed normal people. I remember that phrase because she said it like she was bringing a stray cat to a warm porch. Wes was good-looking in the annoying way where he acted like he didn't know it, even though his jacket, haircut, and shoes all suggested he had checked 3 mirrors before leaving the house. He was smooth, but not cartoonishly so. He laughed at the right times. He bought appetizers. He remembered names. I didn't dislike him. That's the part that still embarrasses me. I actually liked him. Mia and I were not perfect, but I didn't think we were broken. We had boring couple fights about dishwasher loading, grocery budgets, and whether Maple needed a raincoat. Mia said yes because Maple had seasonal depression eyes. I said Maple was a dog in Iowa and needed emotional resilience. We had Sunday grocery routines, shared streaming profiles, and a running disagreement about whether my apartment smelled like coffee or old wood. The kind of life that does not feel dramatic while you're inside it. Then Mia started changing in ways that were too small to accuse and too consistent to ignore. She stopped leaving her phone face up on the coffee table. She started angling it away when she texted. She began saying, "I'm exhausted," whenever I asked normal questions, like whether she wanted dinner or what time she'd be over. She had more late meetings, more client dinners, more emergency revisions for campaigns I never heard about again. And she started telling our friends things before she told me. I'd walk into McGreevy's on trivia night, and Tessa would look at me with this soft, concerned expression, like I was recovering from surgery I hadn't scheduled. Priya would ask how I was doing in a tone people usually reserve for hospital waiting rooms. Jordan would clap me on the shoulder and say, "Hanging in there," when the worst thing that had happened to me that day was a claimant sending blurry photos of hail damage from 2018. One night, while we were standing near the dartboard waiting for Benji to stop arguing with Lou about whether mozzarella sticks counted as a meal, Jordan asked, "You two okay?" I thought he meant our trivia score. "Yeah," I said. "Why?" He shrugged and looked toward the table, where Mia was laughing at something Wes had said. Mia said, "You've been intense lately." That word stuck to me. Intense. Not angry. Not mean. Just vague enough to be impossible to defend against. When Mia and I got home later, I asked her about it while she was taking off her earrings in my bathroom mirror. Did you tell Jordan I've been intense? Her reflection looked at me before she did. I said things have felt intense. That's not really the same thing. Owen. She set one earring down too carefully. Can we not do this tonight? Do what? Turn every word into a cross-examination. I backed off because that's what I did. I hated public conflict, and private conflict didn't feel much better. I grew up in a house where every argument turned into a courtroom, except nobody cared about evidence, and everyone objected at the same time. So I learned early to keep my voice down, wait people out, and choose quiet over escalation. Mia knew that about me. I didn't understand yet how useful it made me. The text came in at 1:17 a.m. on a Thursday. I know the exact time because Maple woke me up by growling at my phone buzzing against the nightstand. She was standing beside the bed, ears up, offended by technology. I reached for the phone half asleep, expecting a weather alert or Benji sending a meme nobody asked for. Instead, it was the group chat. Mia, he has no idea I'm with you. I told him I was at Tessa's because he never questions Tessa. For about 5 seconds, I stared at it without understanding. My brain tried to file it under joke, typo, wrong context, anything except the obvious. Then 3 dots appeared. Mia, oh my god, ignore that. Mia, wrong chat. Mia, please don't start. I'll explain tomorrow. The group chat went dead. No jokes. No confused emoji from Benji. Nothing. That silence was worse than 100 messages. I sat up so fast Maple jumped backward like the bed had exploded. I opened Mia's contact and called her. It rang once, then went to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. Then she texted me directly. Mia, do not call me like this. Me, like what? Mia, this is exactly what I mean. Me, you just told our entire friend group you lied about where you were and that I had no idea you were with someone. Mia, you're spiraling. I said I'll explain tomorrow. That was when my stomach dropped for the second time. Not because she had an explanation. Because she already had a script. I did not sleep. I wish I could say I handled it with dignity. I did not make tea. I did not meditate. I paced my apartment in sweatpants while Maple watched me from the couch with the exhausted disappointment of a dog who did not ask to be emotionally involved in human nonsense. The group chat stayed silent. I kept opening it anyway, like maybe the message would rearrange itself into something harmless if I refreshed enough times. At 2:03 a.m., Priya texted me privately. Priya, are you okay? Me, no. Priya, I don't know what that was. Me, neither do I. Priya, for what it's worth, she told me she was staying at Tessa's tonight. Me, is she? Priya, I don't think so. Tessa just texted me asking if Mia was with me. I read that message 3 times. There are moments when the floor doesn't actually move, but your body reacts like it did. That was one of them. At 8:12 a.m., Mia finally called. I was standing in my kitchen in yesterday's t-shirt, drinking coffee that had gone cold because I kept forgetting it existed. Maple was nudging her food bowl around like she had decided my crisis was delaying breakfast. Before you say anything, Mia said, her voice clipped and professional. I need you to promise you won't make this a whole thing. I looked at the cold coffee and thought, she is already negotiating the size of the fire. Mia, I said, where were you last night? She sighed. Not guilty. Irritated. I was with a friend. Which friend? That's exactly the problem. What is? You think you're entitled to interrogate me. For a second, I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my brain rejected the audacity. You sent the text to the group chat. And you immediately called me repeatedly at 1 in the morning. Because my girlfriend texted everyone that she lied about where she was. You're proving my point. What point? That private conversations with you aren't healthy anymore. There it was again. Healthy. Space. Spiraling. Words that sounded mature if you didn't look directly at what she was using them to cover. We need to talk tonight, she said. In person. Fine. At McGreevy's. I paused. Our bar. It's not your bar. I mean with everyone. A tiny silence. I think it would be good to have people around, she said. That was when I realized she was not planning to explain. She was planning to perform. I did not go through her phone. I did not drive by her apartment. I did not call her workplace pretending to be someone else. I did not do any of the things people later implied I had done before the facts came out. What I did was open the location sharing app we had both used since the previous winter. For context, Mia turned it on after she slid into a ditch outside Ankeny during a snowstorm. She called me crying because she didn't know exactly where she was, and I drove 25 minutes through snow to find her hazard lights blinking off the shoulder. After that, she said, let's just leave it on in case one of us gets murdered by Iowa weather. I had not checked it in months. Her location history showed she had been at a hotel near the airport until 6:43 a.m. Not Tessa's house, not Priya's apartment, not her own place. A hotel. I took a screenshot, then immediately felt gross. Not because I had done something wrong, exactly, but because I had become a person collecting evidence inside my own relationship. That is a specific kind of humiliation nobody warns you about. Around noon, Tessa texted me. Tessa, can we please not turn tonight into an attack on Mia? Me, what did she tell you? Tessa, that you've been monitoring her. Me, monitoring her how? Tessa, Owen. Me, no, seriously. How? Tessa, she said you track her location and question her whenever she goes out. I stared at my phone long enough for my work computer to lock itself. Then I typed. Me, did she mention she turned location sharing on herself and left it on? Tessa, that's not the point. Me, it feels like the point. She didn't answer. By 3 p.m., I had received separate messages from Jordan, Benji, and Priya, all dancing around the same thing. Was I okay? Was I going to stay calm? Did I want someone to sit next to me tonight? Nobody said, Mia told us you're unstable, but I could hear the shape of it in every careful sentence. It was like Mia had walked into the room before I got there and placed warning labels on me. The twist came from Priya at 5:36 p.m. She called, which she almost never did because Priya was a voice note person. She once sent a 2-minute voice note to say, I'm parking. So when my phone rang with her name on it, I picked up before the second buzz. Owen, she said, I need to read you something, and I need you not to react until I finish. That's not a comforting opening. I know. Just listen. She read a message Mia had sent earlier that afternoon. Tonight, I'm going to end it at McGreevy's. I need you to back me up when he starts acting like I'm embarrassing him. He's been tracking me, checking when I'm online, and making me feel like I can't breathe. I know the group likes him, but I need people to understand what he's really like. Priya stopped reading. I sat on the edge of my bed with one shoe on and one shoe off. Maple was in the hallway licking peanut butter out of a rubber toy, fully unaware that my life had become a comments section. She sent that to you? I asked. Yeah. And you believed it? I believed part of it for about 10 minutes, Priya said, and I appreciated that she didn't try to make herself sound better. Then Tessa texted me and said Mia wasn't at her place last night. And then I remembered something weird. What? 2 weeks ago at brunch, Mia asked me this hypothetical question. She said, if someone breaks up with someone in public because they don't feel safe doing it privately, would you judge them? I thought she was talking about a coworker. I closed my eyes. Priya kept going. There's more. Of course there is. She accidentally forwarded me a screenshot this morning and deleted it right away. I still saw the preview before it vanished. What did it say? It was from Wes. The room seemed to shrink. Wes. I had expected a stranger. Some dating app guy. Someone outside the circle. Not Wes, who had sat across from me 2 nights earlier eating my fries and asking whether Maple still hated skateboarders. Priya's voice got softer. The preview said, if tonight goes bad, just say he scared you. Nobody argues with that. My mouth went dry. I didn't say anything for a while. Priya didn't rush me. Finally, she said, I don't know what you want to do, but I don't think you should walk in blind. For about 20 minutes after we hung up, I considered not going. That is the honest truth. I sat on the edge of my bed and thought about texting Mia that we were done, blocking everyone, and letting them believe whatever version made their lives easiest. There was a tired, tempting part of me that wanted to disappear from the whole mess and let the group chat rot. But I knew how that would go. Mia would say I disappeared because I knew she was right. Tessa would call my silence proof. Wes would get to be the supportive coworker who helped her through a scary breakup. And I would become a story told in a lowered voice at a bar where I used to know the answer to the bonus round. So I made rules for myself. No yelling. No insults. No begging. No dramatic speech. No reading private messages out loud unless they were directly about me. No trying to win back someone who had already auditioned me for the villain role. Then I printed the screenshots. That sounds ridiculous, but I didn't want to be the guy shoving a phone in people's faces while my hands shook. I printed the group chat message, my call log, the text exchange where Mia refused to tell me where she was, the location sharing screen with the airport hotel timestamp, and the older app detail showing she still had access to my location too. Priya offered to bring her phone with Mia's messages to her. I told her only to use them if Mia lied directly in front of everyone. At 6:45 p.m., I drove to McGreevy's with the papers in a plain folder from my work bag. The folder had an old sticky note on it that said, "Hail claim photos," which felt weirdly appropriate. Some damage looks minor until you see the whole roof. Everyone was already there when I walked in. Of course they were. Mia sat in the middle of the long table, not at the end like usual. Her hair was done in that effortless-looking way that took effort. Her eyes were shiny. Wes sat 2 seats away, pretending to study a laminated beer menu he had definitely read before. Tessa sat beside Mia with her arms crossed. Priya looked like she wanted to crawl inside her sweater. Jordan gave me a small nod. Benji mouthed, "You good?" That was such a Benji thing to do that I almost smiled. Lou, behind the bar, looked at me and lifted his chin in recognition. I wondered if he knew he was about to host the worst dinner theater in Des Moines. Mia looked up at me with wet eyes. Not crying. Prepared. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Sure," I said. I sat down, placing the folder on the table beside my water glass. The table went quiet in that awful way public spaces get quiet when people nearby pretend not to listen. Somewhere behind us, a basketball game played on mute. A server set down a basket of fries at the next table with the cautious movements of someone approaching a deer. Mia took a deep breath. "I didn't want to do this here," she began. That was a lie so clean it almost sparkled. "But I don't feel like private conversations with you are healthy anymore." Tessa touched Mia's arm. Wes looked down. Priya stared at her water glass. Mia continued. "Last night was messy. I sent a text that looked bad, and I understand why you were upset. But your reaction is exactly why I need space. The repeated calls, the tracking, the pressure." "Stop," I said. Not loud. Just clear. Mia blinked. She expected anger. She did not expect punctuation. "You don't get to package cheating as a safety issue," I said. Her face changed for half a second. Not enough for everyone to catch. Maybe, but enough for me. Wes set down the beer menu. Tessa said, "Owen, don't." "I'm not yelling," I said. "I'm correcting the record." I opened the folder and slid the first page onto the table. The group chat screenshot. "I'm not going to insult you," I said. "I'm not going to make a scene. But I'm also not going to sit here while you tell people I'm dangerous because you got caught." Mia's voice sharpened. "Caught doing what? Having a private life?" I slid the second page forward. "Lying about being at Tessa's while you were at the airport hotel." Tessa's hand dropped from Mia's arm. For the first time that night, Mia looked less prepared. "So you admit you tracked me," she said. "You turned location sharing on last winter after you slid into a ditch," I said. "You asked me to leave it on. You still have my location too." "That's different." "How?" She didn't answer. Jordan leaned back in his chair and muttered, "Damn." Mia grabbed the page and looked at it like if she stared hard enough, the hotel address would become Tessa's living room. "You had no right. You had a right to break up with me," I said. "You had a right to be unhappy. You didn't have a right to lie to everyone and call it fear." Wes stood halfway, pushing his chair back with a scrape. "This is none of my business." Benji looked at him. "Then why are you standing like it is?" That was the first crack in the room. Wes sat back down. Mia turned toward Priya. "Can you please say something?" Priya closed her eyes for 1 second, like she was silently apologizing to the universe for being dragged into this. Then she said, "I really wish you hadn't asked me that." Mia froze. Priya took out her phone. Her hand was shaking a little, but her voice stayed even. "You told me before this that Owen would start acting like you were embarrassing him. You told me to back you up. You said he was tracking you like he secretly installed something, and that isn't what happened." Tessa turned slowly. "Mia?" Mia's eyes filled for real then, but not with sadness. Panic. "This is insane," Mia said. "You're all seriously taking his side?" Nobody answered. So I asked the question I should have asked hours earlier. Was it Wes? The silence after that was the answer before either of them said a word. Wes muttered, "Mia, don't." That was the answer with punctuation. Tessa pushed back from the table like she had touched something hot. "Oh my God," she said. Mia's mouth opened, closed, then opened again. "It wasn't like that." I laughed once. I hated that I did, but it came out before I could stop it. That is the official motto of people who know exactly what it was. Wes said. We don't need to do this here. You're right, I said. You didn't need to. She chose here. Mia lowered her voice. We were unhappy. Then you break up, I said. You don't build a courtroom with our friends and ask them to convict me before I know I'm on trial. A server hovered at the edge of the table with a basket of mozzarella sticks nobody remembered ordering. Benji glanced at it and whispered, I feel like this mozzarella stick is a witness now. No one laughed exactly, but the tension shifted just enough that I could breathe. Lou came over and asked, Everything okay here? Benji said, emotionally, No. Legally? So far. That time, Jordan covered his mouth. Mia stood and grabbed her purse. I'm not staying for this. Before she could leave, Priya said, Mia, there's one more thing. Mia turned, furious. What? Priya looked past her, directly at Wes. Did you use the client block at the Hampton last night? Wes went pale in a way I had only seen in people after minor car accidents. I had no idea what Priya meant, but Mia clearly did. She looked at Wes so fast it answered another question nobody had asked. Priya said, Because if you did, your agency is going to see that charge. Wes swallowed. That's not. Not what? Priya asked. Company card? Client overflow lodging? Because Mia mentioned you had a room through work. I didn't understand why that mattered until now. And just like that, the affair stopped being romantic and became paperwork. Mia left first. Wes waited about 10 seconds, then left through the side door by the bathrooms, which made him look less like a misunderstood man and more like somebody dodging a tab. They did not storm out together like tragic lovers. They scattered like people who realized the fire alarm was real. I stayed at McGreevy's for another hour because I did not trust myself to drive. I hadn't touched my beer. I just felt hollowed out, like someone had reached into my chest and removed all the parts that knew what to do next. Tessa cried. She apologized to me 2 times, then started a 3rd time before I stopped her. Please don't, I said. I'm sorry, she whispered anyway. She told me a completely different version. I thought I was protecting my friend. I know. That was all I could give her. I was not ready to comfort someone for believing lies about me. Jordan admitted he had seen Mia and Wes together outside a hotel 2 weeks earlier. He said they were standing close, too close, but he convinced himself it could be innocent because he didn't want to be the guy who blew up a relationship over a maybe. His apology hurt differently. Not because he caused it, because I realized how many small truths people bury because speaking up would be awkward. Priya sent me screenshots of Mia's messages in case I needed them. I saved them, then put my phone face down. I did not want to become a person who refreshed evidence like social media. When I got home, Maple barked like I'd been gone for a military deployment instead of a bar fight with paperwork. I sat on the kitchen floor in my jacket while she pressed her head into my shoulder. The apartment looked exactly the same. Her blue mug was still in the cabinet. Her shampoo was still in the shower. The couch still had the den on the side she always made me sit on. That was the strangest part. A relationship can end in one night, but the objects stay behind like they didn't get the update. The next morning, Mia came to my apartment while I was at work and left a grocery bag outside my door. Inside were my hoodie, my spare toothbrush, a paperback I had forgotten at her place, and a framed photo of us from the state fair. We were holding lemonade in the picture, squinting into the sun, smiling like the future had already signed a lease. There was also a note. It said, I'm sorry for how things happened, but I hope someday you understand why I felt trapped. I stood in my kitchen reading that sentence while Maple sniffed the grocery bag like it might contain chicken. Not, I'm sorry I cheated. Not, I'm sorry I lied. Not, I'm sorry I tried to make people afraid of you. Just sorry for how things happened. I put the note in the trash. Then I took it back out, photographed it, and put it in a drawer because apparently healing and documentation can happen at the same time. A week later, I heard from Priya that Mia and Wes had both been suspended pending an internal review at their agency. I did not report them. Priya did not report them. Nobody in our group had to. Their finance department flagged the hotel charge because Wes had marked it as client overflow lodging, and the client confirmed nobody from their team stayed there. From what Priya heard through a friend of a friend who still worked with Mia, the agency was less interested in their relationship and more interested in why a company card had been used to turn cheating into reimbursable lodging. That felt fitting. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Just adults meeting consequences in spreadsheet form. Mia told Tessa that I had ruined her life by turning everyone against her. Tessa, to her credit, said, "No, you tried that first." That was the end of their friendship for a while. The old group chat died. Nobody officially declared it dead, but messages stopped. Brain Cell Coalition became a digital graveyard of trivia reminders, dog photos, and one accidental text that cracked everything open. For about a month, I didn't go to McGreevy's. Tuesday nights felt too quiet. I'd come home from work, reheat pasta, take Maple around the block, and sit on the couch watching shows I didn't care about. Sometimes I'd reach for my phone to tell Mia something stupid, like that Maple had barked at a plastic bag for 30 seconds, and then remember there was nowhere to send it. That part hurt more than the confrontation. The drama was loud. The absence was quiet. Jordan kept checking in, but I kept some distance. Not forever, just enough to let him understand that neutrality is not the same as kindness when someone is being framed in front of you. Priya and I got coffee once, and she apologized even though she had done more than most people would have. Benji sent memes, because that was his love language, but he also texted one night, "For what it's worth, I'm sorry we almost let her run the table." I stared at that for a while before replying. "Me thanks." Also terrible metaphor. Benji, I panicked. I'm better with cheese-based commentary. 2 days later, he created a new group chat called No Courtroom Energy. He added me, Priya, Jordan, and 2 other trivia friends who had not been part of the mess. He did not add Mia or Wes. His first message was, "Trivia Tuesday?" Also new rule, no public emotional ambushes unless they come with drink tickets. Priya replied, "I hate that this is growth, but it is." I laughed for the first time in weeks without feeling it catch on something. The part people always ask is whether Mia ever gave a real apology. She did, sort of, 3 months later. It came by email, which felt right for someone who had lost the right to casual access. The subject line was simply, "Owen." I saw it while eating lunch at my desk, a turkey sandwich from the place downstairs that always used too much mustard. I almost deleted it unread. Then I opened it because I knew myself well enough to know I'd wonder forever. She wrote that she had been unhappy and embarrassed and scared of being seen as the bad guy. She admitted she exaggerated things about me because she wanted people on her side before the breakup. She admitted she should have ended it before anything happened with Wes. She admitted Wes was not worth it, which she phrased with the flat regret of someone confessing they had bought a bad couch, not detonated a 4-year relationship. There were a few sentences that sounded close to accountability. There were a few that tried to step around it. I didn't respond right away. I waited 2 days. Not to punish her. To make sure I wasn't answering from the part of me that still wanted the old version of her to exist. Then I wrote back 3 sentences. "I accept that you regret it. I don't accept the version where hurting me was something that happened to you. Please don't contact me again." Then I blocked her. I wish I could say I felt powerful. Mostly I felt tired. But it was a clean kind of tired, like finishing a long drive through terrible weather and finally turning off the engine. I still live above the dentist's office. The radiator still clicks. Maple still barks at the mail carrier like the man personally invented bills. Mia's shampoo is gone from my shower. Her mug is gone from my cabinet. And I sit on whichever side of the couch I want. I still go to McGreevy's. Lou still gives us the same table when it's open. Benji still runs trivia like there's prize money instead of a $20 gift card. Priya still over-explains plans. Jordan and I are better now, though not in the easy way we were before. Some friendships survive by pretending nothing happened. Ours survived because we didn't. As for Mia and Wes, they became the kind of story people stop telling once it gets sad instead of juicy. Wes left the agency first. Mia followed a few months later. I don't know where either of them works now, and I don't look. The last time I saw Mia was in the cereal aisle at Hy-Vee. She saw me first. I could tell by the way her hand tightened on the cart handle. For 1 second, the old reflex came back, that tiny instinct to make things easier for her. Then Maple, who was not even there, somehow inspired me spiritually to mind my own business. I nodded once, picked up a box of Cheerios, and walked away. That was it. No speech. No confrontation. No final scene where everyone clapped. Just me, leaving with breakfast cereal and my pulse steady. When someone starts telling your story for you, the instinct is to shout over them. I get that now. But sometimes the better move is to get calm, get clear, keep your receipts, and tell the truth once in a room where it can't be edited. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.